Hey, thanks for meeting me here at the hiking trail. Oh, it is going to be fantastic today. Let me tell you, it is such a beautiful day. The temperatures are perfect. There's a nice cool breeze. The birds are chirping. The leaves are green. The grass is green. Oh, it is just perfect. It is so nice. This is a great time of year. This is actually the best time of year to go hiking because it's not too hot. It's not cold. It's just right. And today's hiking trail is fantastic. This is actually going to be an amazing hike. Now, I have been on this trail many times before, but I've never actually hiked the whole thing. Back in the early 1700s, this was the location of an iron works place, meaning that they made things with iron. And it lasted up until around the mid-1800s, until it went out of business or they closed it down. I don't exactly know what happened. But it had many different owners. Originally it started off as a mill, but then eventually moved on to doing iron work. So we are going to hike today to a spot that actually has iron deposits that are over 200 years old. And it is pretty amazing knowing that those pieces of iron have been sitting there for that long. It's also a very whimsical location. I was not expecting that. This particular hiking location is not exactly scenic. When you get to this lake, it becomes beautiful, but otherwise, you're hiking through thick forest and tall weeds and things like that. It's not really something that I personally like to do in the summer. It's very buggy and all that kind of stuff. However, when I found this trail today, it was amazing. It is like being in a different world, and I love hikes like that. So we're going to make our way to that spot, and as we do, I have a little story to tell. I don't know if I would consider it to be an inspiring story. And it was a story that I wrote a while ago when I was struggling in my 9-to-5 job. I would go crazy. I would work myself to death. I would work as hard as I possibly could. It wasn't that I was trying to compete with the other workers and be like, hey, I'm the best worker out of anybody. It just was that I felt if someone was paying me to do a job, that is their money. And they expect me to do the right job and to do the right thing and not slack off or mess the job up. So I always made sure that when you hired me, you got a solid worker. And so I would go crazy. I would work myself like crazy and tire myself out and sometimes even be depressed and miserable. But then there would be those people who would come in and not work hard and slack off all the time and sometimes take breaks in the middle of the day when they shouldn't or go really slow on something. So I'm going crazy working my butt off while they're sitting next to me doing the same job at half the speed. And I realized that no matter what, no matter how hard I worked or how little they worked, on Friday, we still both got paid. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I worked faster and harder and they worked slower, because on Friday, we both still got paid. And that's what led me to what I'm going to talk about today. But before we get there, there's a couple of things I got to take care of. The first thing is, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. If you enjoy this video, you enjoy this kind of video, point of view videos, or maybe you like hiking, or you're coming here to escape your daily life and go on a hike through my point of view, then subscribe. It helps. It tells the YouTube algorithm gods that people are enjoying this channel and that maybe others would like to see it too. And therefore, they will show people in the search results. But if nobody subscribes and nobody's liking the video, YouTube's not going to do that. And it's just going to get buried and lost. I should explain, too, that my name is Mike, and what I do here is point-of-view hiking videos in 4K. I have a GoPro strapped to me, and you get to see what I see as I see it. I actually wear the GoPro on my head, so as I look at something, the camera also goes there. So it really is like you are on this hiking trail. Also, if you enjoy the video, I would appreciate it if you would show me by liking the video, by hitting that like button. Hit that like button and show me and everybody else that you enjoy this video. I would really appreciate that. Okay, one last thing we gotta do before I tell you about how we always get paid on Friday. My little story I gotta tell. I have one last thing here, and that is a shameless plug. It's where I plug something that I have created. Merch, if you will, by doing it shamelessly. And I like to call it a shameless plug. That's right, it's time for a shameless plug where I plug something of mine shamelessly. And today, I'm going to promote MikeBurkePhotography.com. Many times when I'm out here on the trails, you'll find me with my camera, snapping away. I love photography, and I have created a website where I sell prints of the many images I have taken over the years. If you're looking for the most perfect, beautiful landscape image, an image of the ocean, of the sunset, of autumn or winter, check out MikeBurkePhotography.com for that most perfect image to hang in your living room. You'll also find plenty of options. You can get it as a print, canvas, a metal print. Check it out today, MikeBurkePhotography.com. And that is the end of my shameless plug. Now, back to the video. I started working when I was probably 11. It all started where one of my neighbors needed to have their lawns mowed. And for a while my father was doing it, but he had some kind of work injury and couldn't really do it anymore. And so he taught me how to use the lawnmower. And so once a week I would go and mow my neighbor's yard and I would get paid $10. So for an 11-year-old getting $10 a week all summer long, that was pretty good. And that was great money for a kid. Well, I really started to enjoy it. I really liked mowing the lawn, and I would do whatever I could to make sure those lines were straight, just like a pro. So other neighbors caught on. And I had a neighbor who lived on the other side of me, and this guy was made of money. He had a lot of money. I think he was like part owner of some kind of company or something. They owned multiple houses. They were renting houses out. He had money. And he saw me mowing the lawn. He called me over one day and he goes, "How would you like to help mow lawns for me? I've got all these properties here," and all of his properties were all next to each other. He basically bought half the neighborhood. And we lived out in the woods. So you know, all the houses were far apart from each other and separated by forest and everything, but they were all still connected. So he said, "You just come on over and you mow this lawn and mow this one and mow that one." Next thing you know, I'm making like $60 a week or so. As a kid, I'm mowing all of his lawns. I'm still mowing the other neighbor's lawn, and it was great. It was fantastic. By the time I was 13 or 14 years old, I was able to buy my first CD player that I paid for. I didn't have to get help from my parents or anything. I was so proud of that. And then I bought this nice stereo system to go with it, and I was buying CDs and all that, and still saving some of it. So it was great. And it was sort of like I was my own business. You know, even though I was mowing lawns for other people, they never bothered me. They would leave the check, you know, under a rock or something like that, and I'd go in, do the job, mow the lawn, get paid. Now we cut to when I'm actually 14 years old and those lawn jobs stopped. My rich neighbor and his wife got divorced and they ended up selling all of the land, and she took over mowing her own lawn. So that was gone, and my neighbor ended up hiring professionals. What really wasn't him, it was his daughter. And then he passed away, so that was it for me mowing lawns. I had still mowed my own lawn at my house, but I didn't get paid to do that. Well, now I'm 14 years old, and my father has opened up his own comic book store. And he would have me and my siblings come in every once in a while to help out. We never got paid, but he would let us choose anything we wanted from the store, which was awesome, actually. We would get comic books before they were released to the public, and it was pretty cool. So one day I'm in there, and the owner of a restaurant next door comes over, And he's asked my father if he has any kids who'd be willing to work for him. That he needed a dishwasher, a busboy. That his current busboy had just quit the job. And they were very busy and really needed someone. So I was hesitant to say yes. I didn't think it would be a permanent job. But that's exactly what happened. I went in there that day, that afternoon, and was there for 5 hours washing dishes, and there was a lot of dishes. They were piled up. Well, that's how I ended up getting that job. And I would go in every Friday and Saturday and work from 5 p.m. to usually 12 to 1 a.m. And, at times it could be boring. At times it could be great. They were great people to work for. Maybe the best part of the job was they would give me dinner. And this was an Italian restaurant. They were from Italy. Authentic Italian food, and it was spectacular. They would just walk over and go, "Hey, Mike, you want some dinner now?" I'd be like, "Okay." And it would be a whole pizza. And their pizzas were fantastic. Nobody makes pizza the way they did. And I miss it. And then once in a while, too, they'd be like, "Hey, I'm going to make dinner for you. I got something for you." And it would be like this giant bowl of pasta with these bull-sized balls. Like these giant meatballs. And it was amazing. So it was fantastic. They also let me do stand-up comedy shows at the restaurant, which was great. So at that point in time, I still wasn't where I was like, "God, I hate working at a job." I mean, yeah, I was a teenager, but I was working 2 days a week and making decent money for my age. And I was saving most of it. Now we cut to adulthood. And now I have a 9-to-5 job. And when I first got my first 9-to-5 job, I was happy about it. It was the most money I had ever made in a week. It wasn't big money, but I was still more than I was used to getting. So I was happy about it. But then the daily grind of 9-to-5 started to take its toll on me. And I started to really hate it. But the thing is that I value jobs. I understand jobs, and that is all jobs. I think every job is important because each job serves a purpose. So I never like when someone says, "If you don't go to college, you're going to end up being a garbage man." And I think to myself, well, what's wrong with that? You need someone to clean the garbage up, right? Like, what's wrong with that? They actually do a great service. And you're going to belittle them? You don't go to college and become a lawyer or a doctor, you're going to end up being a plumber. Oh, yeah? Well, who's going to fix your pipes when they leak? You? If you're getting down on a plumber, I highly doubt that you have any respect for plumbing. So I never believed that way. However, for me, I'm a performer and a filmmaker. I don't want to be working a 9-to-5 job. I don't want to be working at a factory doing wire assembly or working in a shipping warehouse and making skids and all that. That's not what I want to do. That's not my life. So what happened is I was there just to collect a paycheck. But as you all know, many times, if you're at a job that doesn't pay well, you're working at the job so that you can go work there. You're working to go pay for the gas that it takes to get there and working to live in a place that you barely get to see because you're at work all day. And I just hated that. I hated the fact that I was working just so I could go to work. But I had to do it, as many of us had to do. But eventually, I became self-employed, 100% self-employed. And it's got its difficulties. I actually work more hours than I did at any 9-to-5 job. I'm working all day, sometimes all night, sometimes not getting to bed until 4:30 in the morning, only to wake up at 8:30 and do it again. But I also have freedom. Like, after I finish this recording, I'm going to see a movie. But most people don't have that opportunity. Most people can't go do that. You're in the middle of a work day, you're stuck there. You can't go leave your job just to go to a movie. And imagine getting caught. Imagine your boss decides to do it. "What are you doing here?" Didn't you say you weren't feeling well?" "Yeah, but the movie's my medicine." Aha. Yeah, you're fired. So I like that freedom. If I'm having a bad day, I can choose not to work that day. I don't have to call anyone in. I don't have to get approval. I could just not work. So that's the beauty of being self-employed. But it is difficult. It is very difficult. But to me, it is worth it. So with that being said, I wrote a story about working. And I just want to be very clear that as I read this, please understand that I respect all jobs because I feel that all jobs are necessary. Each job serves a purpose. And I also believe that you should absolutely work your hardest and do your best. Do your best. But sometimes there is a case where you do your best and it doesn't matter, where the job simply doesn't care. They abuse their employees. They push them over the top. They don't pay them well. They don't give you your raise. They're late on your raise. Maybe they were giving you a bonus. Now suddenly they're not. All this kind of nonsense where they just completely disrespect you. That's what led me to writing this story. Here it goes. There are many lessons we can learn from each other. These lessons could change lives. It is up to us to share these lessons with others when we learn them. The lesson I will teach today is very simple. You always get paid on Friday. If you're like me and you take your job seriously, it doesn't matter what it is. You could be cleaning dishes in a restaurant or filing paperwork. I believe no matter what job it is, it's very important to do it right and to do it well. The work you do represents you as a person. I have made sure that not only have I done my job properly, but I would go above and beyond. I would add little extras just to make the job better and help the company out that I work for. However, I learned an important and painful lesson by doing things that way. The first lesson is, no matter how hard you work and how crazy you go, there will always be someone that works with you that does the opposite. You may even find that this person gets away with murder. For some reason, the boss never notices. This leads me to my second lesson I learned, which is that many times when you go above and beyond, it goes unnoticed. I had a situation once where the electricity had gone out in the building. We had a ton of orders that still needed to be processed through the computer. People got into a panic. None of the bosses were in that day, so I stepped up and organized a way of getting every order processed by hand writing everything. I went crazy as I took charge of the situation and ended up finishing all of the orders. I never received a thank you or even a mention. I didn't make any extra money or even got a bonus. Nobody ever told the bosses about that afternoon, and this led me to my realization. With everything I did that afternoon, I still got paid the same on Friday. When you work for a company that doesn't appreciate you, it really doesn't matter if you work harder or slower, because on Friday you will receive the same paycheck that you always get. Your coworkers will receive the same paycheck. The worker who did half of what you did will receive the same paycheck. It didn't matter how above and beyond you went. It didn't really make a difference. The only thing it did was give you a wicked headache. Unless you're looking to work your way up the ladder and make your way to the top of the company, what is the point in going crazy? When you go crazy, you're stressing yourself out. You're putting the weight of the company on your back. And it's not your company. Others around you don't seem to appreciate it. And if you're like me, the bosses don't even notice most of the time. You don't get any raise. You don't get any bonuses. Your paycheck never changes. You don't get a thank you. I got frustrated at work when things are not done right because I care about how I do my job. Perhaps I cared too much. While I'm giving it all, there are people around me who could care less. The person who has done a lot less still gets their paycheck on Friday, just as I will. I learned that it doesn't matter. I don't own the company. I do not want to run the company. I just want to go to work, do a good job, and get paid on Friday. The biggest lesson I could teach anybody in the working world is don't go crazy if you don't need to. Keep your cool and do the best job you can, but don't go overboard. Don't make waves. Of course, be polite, be a good worker, but don't intertwine yourself with the company if you have no plans of working your way to the top. If you're just going to be an employee and do your job, then do your job. Now, of course, if you work for someone who rewards you for that extra work, gives you extra money, gives you a bonus, promotions, then of course, go above and beyond. If you are only there because it's a job and you're just trying to put food on the table, then don't kill yourself trying to do your job. Don't stress out. Let the bosses and the owner of the company do that. That is why they get paid the big bucks. It is pointless to go crazy while the moron that works next to you goes at a pace slower than a turtle racing a snail. At the end of the week, both of you are still getting paid for the time you put in at your normal hourly wage. In this economy, those of us who do have a job must fight to keep them. Stressing yourself out and getting angry could lead you to the unemployment line. All for what? I learned this lesson the hard way, and now I'm in the unemployment line. I was told by my gutless, deceiving boss that I have more integrity and honesty than any other he has known. I was told that I have been a consistent worker who makes few mistakes for the length of my employment. And then I was told I no longer have a job. I lose my job when most of the world's finances are crumbling. I did my job, did it well, cared, went above and beyond, and yet I still got terminated. Why? Because my cowardly and gutless former boss said I was not happy there and shouldn't be there? That's right. I was terminated from my job of 8 years due to happiness. So, I went above and beyond for nothing. Because at the end of the day, it didn't matter. So change the way of thinking. If you're only at the job just to have a job, then don't go above and beyond. Because you still get paid on Fridays.